again, my name is Shainani Nieves, Shai for short, and in this video, we'll walk through useful tools and strategies that can be used for 4-H activities and events, including activity analysis and other approaches to support participation for youth of all abilities. And this is the last video of the mini-series. By the end of this, you will be able to list basic ideas of activity analysis, be able to develop simple strategies to adapt 4-H activities for youth with different needs, and be able to match supports to the youth's needs by considering the person, activity, and the environment. What is activity analysis? Activity analysis is a tool occupational therapists, or OT for short, we use it to understand the different parts of an activity. It's the process of breaking activity down to understand what skills are needed and what might make it easier or harder for someone to participate. By analyzing an activity, we can identify potential barriers and make simple adaptations and help youth participate. This process allows us to create inclusive experiences while still maintaining the goals and purpose of the activity. In 4-H, our goal is to support positive youth development through belonging, relationships, engagement, and spark. These elements form the foundation for positive experiences where youth feel connected, supported, and motivated to learn and grow. Activity analysis aligns with several important positive youth development principles, including creating supportive relationships, providing opportunities for belonging, promoting skill building, encouraging positive social norms, and helping confidence and independence. When we take the time to understand the activity deeply, we can identify potential barriers and make thoughtful adaptations. So, activity analysis focuses on 3 main areas: the activity itself, the individual, and the environment. First, consider the activity itself. Ask yourself, what does the activity require? Think about the steps involved, the materials needed, and the expected outcome. For example, planting a garden may require following directions, using tools, working with peers, completing multi-step activities. Next, think about the individual. What skills does the youth bring to the activity? Consider their strengths, interests, and abilities. Also think what skills they may need additional support with. For example, a youth may have strong knowledge of plants, but needs support with communication and attention. Finally, examine the environment. What supports or barrier exists? Consider the physical setting, available materials, noise levels, and people involved. An environment can either support participation or create additional challenges depending on the youth's needs. By looking at the activity, the individual, and the environment, volunteers like you can identify barriers and make thoughtful adjustments that help youth participate. Now that we've discussed activity analysis, let's look at some practical ways we can adapt an activity in 4-H. When making adaptations, it's also important to consider different learning styles, like visual learners, hands-on, or auditory learners. Offering multiple ways to access information can help you stay engaged. The table on this slide provides an example of how activities can be adjusted depending on the youth's needs. For example, if youth need support with following directions, volunteers can provide visual instructions, model the steps, or give one direction at a time. If a youth has difficulty with attention or focus, tasks can be broken into smaller chunks. Visual timers can be used, or movement breaks can be provided. For group participation, volunteers can assign clear roles, use partner activities, or reduce group size. As skills develop, youth can take on leadership roles or participate in larger group discussions. Another example is sensory overload. Some youth may benefit from a quieter workspace, reduced distractions, or noise-reducing headphones. Some youth may seek sensory input and benefit from opportunities for movement, hands-on activities, or access to sensory tools. For these youth, movement breaks, flexible seating, fidget toys, or active roles within the activity can help support regulation and participation. The purpose of adapting an activity is not to lower expectations or change the goal of the activity. Instead, it is to provide the support youth need to actively participate, develop skills, and experience success along their peers. In this table, I have a few more examples, and you can look over at another time and will be included in your one-page reference sheet. Like mentioned before, about offering fidgets to youth and how this helps with regulating their attention, managing sensory needs, and staying engaged during activities. There are many low-cost options available on Amazon. For example, the Ouchie Fidget provides deep tactile input and may be helpful for kiddos who pick at their skin or enjoy tactile sensory feedback, and that's the colorful one on my far right. The Nidao, or the little one that looks like a blue cube, that one, it helps with deep pressure through squeezing, stretching, and pushing. And then the fidget snakes offer movement and tactile input through they make some noise. Fidget spinners provide repetitive hand movement, and the spiky sensory rings offer tactile input through rolling and squeezing. At the shop, 4-H.org, they already have available fidget spinners and poppers. And having a small variety available allows you to choose options that work best for them. It's important to remember that not every fidget works for every child, and the goal is to support engagement, not create a distraction. Let's look at the potential future 4-H horticultural community service project. Youth create flower bouquets and encourage cards for patients at a local rehab center for selecting flowers, trimming stems, or arranging bouquets and writing encouragement cards. At first glance, this may seem like a simple activity. However, as volunteers, it's important to remember that every activity has different demands. Before thinking about accommodations or adaptations, it can be helpful to ask 3 questions. What does the activity require? What does youth bring to the activity? What about the environment might make it the participation easier or harder? For this activity, youth are expected to make choices, follow multi-steps, work with peers, use fine motor skills, and write a message. The room may be busy, noisy, full of distractions. There may also be strong flower scents and lots of materials spread across the room. Now, let's look at how different youth might experience the same activity. One youth may become overwhelmed by the number of flower choices and the open-ended nature of the activity. They may repeatedly ask if their bouquet is correct, or become upset if another youth rearranges the flowers they carefully selected. In this situation, volunteers could provide a visual example of a finished bouquet, break the project into smaller steps, offer fewer flower choices initially, or assign a specific role, such as flower selection specialist. It can be also helpful to remind youth that bouquets can look different and still be successful. Another youth may be excited to help, but move from table to table, begin multiple bouquets without finishing them, and frequently stop to talk with their peers. Rather than viewing this as a lack of interest, consider ways to increase structure and engagement. Assign specific responsibilities such as stem trimmer, bouquet assembler, supply manager, or delivery helper. Can provide clear expectations. A visual checklist, frequent positive feedback, and movement breaks can also support success. Using the same scenario, a different kiddo may enjoy arranging flowers but struggles when it's time to write an encouraging card. They may have difficulty reading examples or become anxious about spelling mistakes. Volunteers can provide large print examples, pre-written messages, or sentence starters. Some examples could be writing, "Wishing your comfort and strength," or "Hope these flowers brighten your day." Youth can also dictate their messages to a volunteer or peer, and they support as they write it for them. This helps with people that have dyslexia or dysgraphia, or any youth that may have difficulty putting their thoughts in written format. Remember, the goal is to share a thoughtful message, not to test spelling skills. You may also have another kiddo who is nonverbal or minimal verbal. This kiddo may fully understand the activity and actively participate, but communicate differently. They may point to flowers, use gestures, communication cards, or a communication device. Continue speaking directly to the child. Provide extra time for responses, and accept multiple forms of communication. The images shown are examples of visual choice boards that support communication. One shows the steps for creating a bouquet, while the other allows children to select a tool or material they want to use. Communication cards can also be created by volunteers or parents, or purchased online, and provide another way for children to express choices and participate independently. Also, encourage peers to wait patiently and allow the child to communicate independently. As volunteers, you do not need to be an expert on every disability. Instead, focus on the activity, the youth, and the environment, and ask yourself what might be making participation difficult and what small changes could help. The same strategies discussed in the horticulture activity can often be applied across many 4-H settings, including robotics, film, livestock projects, camp activities, and more. Before we finish, I want to highlight several resources that are already available to support volunteers, staff, and youth in Florida 4-H. One resource is the Florida 4-H Accommodation Kit. This information on this kit can be requested through your local 4-H agent or through Vanessa Sparrow, the regional specialized 4-H extension agent. The accommodation kit includes practical supports that can be used during meetings, activities, and events, such as visual and auditory supports, fine motor supports, sensory items, and communication supports. Another helpful resource is the 5-point scale, which I mentioned on the second video. This helps with self-regulation and help you communicate their emotions, stress levels, or comfort levels during activities. There are also resources focused on understanding behaviors from youth with disabilities, including a document called Understanding Youth Behavior, Staff and Volunteer Scenarios. This resource provides additional club-based scenarios and examples that can help volunteers and staff better understand behaviors and may encounter in 4-H setting and identify support strategies. If you're interested in any of these resources, contact your local 4-H agent or reach out to Vanessa Sparrow for additional information and support. In this slide, I do have her email attached, just in case you would like to email her directly for any of these resources. Reminder, ask yourself, am I adjusting the activity, not the child? And am I supporting participation, belonging, and engagement? By adjusting activities, not expectations, we support participation, confidence, and skill development. And most importantly, we help every child feel like they belong in 4-H. These are my references. For those who would like a copy of this slide deck, please reach out to the 4-H office. Thanks for watching.